Hi, we're Richard and Jackie from Early Retirement Wanderlust, and as you can see, we're at the NEC Motorhome and Caravan Show.
The first time we ever came, we were just so overawed with what kind of van that we wanted to look for. There was just so much choice in there. So in this video,
we are going to look at campervans, but we're going to look at the different layouts that are available to you, because that has got to be the first decision when you're thinking about buying a campervan.
so this is actually our second day at the NEC. Yesterday was absolutely mad crazy. Two things. I forgot to bring a hairbrush, so I apologise. I'd probably look a little bit scruffier today. But how fancy is this that we managed to, little Jackie and Richard, get press passes? Actually, it just means that we can get in at 8:30 and we've got an hour to film before the big crowds arrive. And yesterday, wow, did those crowds arrive.
And there is so much to see. There are over 1,000 units, brand new units to have a look around. We can't say that we've looked around them all, but we are going to, in this video, give you a selection of all the different layouts that you can get in terms of a camper van. And then we're going to try and look at some of the pros and cons of that, just from our experience, and share with you some of the decision-making process we made when we ordered our van. So we better get going. I'm sat in the Auto Trail V-Line Sport van, and it's really surprised me. It feels so light and airy and really quite luxurious. So it's got a sort of a soft padding cladding on the side. It's got, I think it's either leather or leather effect seats. It feels cavernous in here. There's light coming through the skylight and there's loads of space. It's got a mid bathroom, which is quite roomy. It's got an absolutely cavernous fridge at the front. We've got some friends who have got an Auto Trail van, and we've spent time in the Alps with them in dark, wintry, snowy evenings, and it's really cozy back here. You can get the table up and it's a bit like being at home.
So I'm sat in a Roller Team Livingstone Duo campervan. It is on a 6m40 chassis, which means it is obviously a lot larger than the 5m40, and you can see where the extra metre of space comes from. But wow, this living area is absolutely vast. You could comfortably sit 6 people, and there is a little dinette area at the front as well. Like most vans that come with a rear lounge, they do have a pretty good kitchen as well, and most of them seem to have a cooker in there, and in some of certainly the longer models, a microwave as well. You do get a lot of space and not having the fixed bed at the back, but for me, having to make my bed up every night is also an issue. This layout is the Livingstone Duo, so it turns into 2 single beds, but you can also get the Livingstone 2 that does have a layout where you can have a traverse bed as well.
After we put out our last video last year on the 5m40 vans, we had so many comments from our community about that we really did need to go and see Consort vans in Leeds. And we did do, and we were very impressed with the quality of the build that they produce. Unfortunately, Consort don't come to any of the shows, but we are in a Vantage van, which is the Vantage Med, and that's also based in Leeds. Obviously a British company and British made, and the build quality and the attention to detail on the small things is really quite impressive. It's such a compact van. This rear lounge area converts into a lateral double bed. It's got a TV back here, as you would expect from a rear lounge van. It's still got an oven in, it's got quite a large bathroom, and then a big fridge and wardrobe at the front. So in a really compact shell, it fits a lot in, and this is quite a comfortable seating area. There is an option for a table back here, and also there's an option for a table at the front as well, with the 2 chairs that swivel round. So yeah, a lot of design innovation in this van.
So this time I've sat in a Swift Trekker XL, which is based on a 6m Ford van, and it's quite trendy in its design. It's very dark compared to all of the other vans that we've been in. Again, we're looking at the rear lounge in this, and it has got really roomy, spacious area to sit in. You can put a table in here, so it's also your dining room. You can configure it as 2 single beds, but you can also make it into 1 huge double bed as well. Like all of the other vans that we've talked about before, if it's got a rear lounge, they tend to have cookers in them for some reason. So there is a nice little oven at the front there. But something we have noticed so far when we've been looking at all the rear lounges is that they tend to only have 2 seat belts. And for us, that's a really limiting factor because we could never take any passengers with us. Also, at the front, it's got 2 really comfortable captain seats. They do swivel round, but there isn't a lot of space up there. There's no table for you to sit at that I can actually see at the moment. Maybe there's one that sort of appears from somewhere. But it's a nice van and it's quite a trendy design as well.
We really do hope that we've managed to give you a flavour of the rear lounge type vans that are at the show. There are so many of them and they're all slightly different in their own configuration, but lumping them all together, there are some definite pros and cons.
Yep, so it's time to get on with them. For me, the biggest pro for these, and it did give us a lot of food for thought when we were choosing our vans, if you do a lot of your travelling in the UK particularly, where the weather is, shall we say, a little bit inclement and we do get a lot of rain, then you've got a van that's always got quite a spacious area for you to sit and chill out. And the other thing is, they've usually got 2 side windows and a back window, so it's really bright and airy as well sitting here.
And when you do make the bed up, the bed is a considerable area. It does take up quite a bit of the van, but you will definitely feel like you've got a really, really comfy place to retire to at night.
And something else that we quite often find associated with vans that have got rear lounges in is that they tend to come with a better kitchen. They come with a proper oven, so you could actually make yourself a little bit of a Sunday roast if you're away for the weekend. It's a very sort of British style. You don't find rear lounges in many of the European vans.
They do build in working areas around the van, and they will make sure that there's sometimes table options at the front, tables options at the back. So it really does offer a flexible living space.
So on to the cons. And for us, there were 2 quite big cons that made us decide to go for a fixed bed rather than a rear lounge. The first one and the biggest one is most of the rear lounge vans only have 2 seat belts, and you then don't have the option of having passengers with you. For us, we'd never know whether we want to take our mums out or whether one of our kids comes up and we want to go out somewhere. So that's ruled it out for us.
And then the other one for us that was a limiting factor, and you can see it in this van and you can see it in all the vans, by the nature of having a rear lounge, you don't get a large garage. Now, in some of the rear lounges, you have got the option of putting things down the middle of the van, and when you're traveling, you can store things up there. But to be honest, we've had 8 years of that in our small van. And when we travel around, you might have seen it on the channel, the van is quite packed with stuff. And
Lots of stuff.
And it just gets in the way. So the storage space and the storage space for things like bedding might not be as simple as it seems. So it's definitely something to consider.
And then the last point is really only a minor thing, and it's something that we've lived with for the last 8 years. So we wanted to change, is that you would have to make your bed up nightly. So you've got to unpack everything, find the bedding from wherever you've stored it and make the bed up. It's probably only a 30-second, 1-minute process. And then Richard likes to pack my bed away again once I've gone to the toilet. So if I've got a fixed bed, he can't do that while I've gone to the toilet block.
And that's quite true.
It is.
And I don't know how I'm going to cope with Jackie wanting to disappear into bed partway through the day, but we'll find a way.
So when we came to the show last year, one of the vans that we were looking at was the Dreamer D43 Up, and we almost put an order in for one. The thing that did put us off was maybe having the pop-top roof that added a lot of weight to it, and that was probably the main thing. Well, this year, they've actually brought a version out that doesn't have the pop-top, and it is a really smart, really nice van, new for 2026. Richard really likes the bathroom. It's got one of those screens that moves across so that you can have it as in shower mode or in toilet mode. It does mean it's a little bit snug and tight in there, but it does also mean that you don't get the dreaded shower curtain. The bed at the back is probably on the small side. It's on a slanted shape, so where your feet go, it's a little bit narrower, but it is a really smart van, and if we hadn't already ordered our Sunlight van, this would be a true contender of what we probably would have ordered. Interestingly, at the moment, we're here on the first day of the show, we haven't found a price for it yet, so I'm going to go and have a look.
I don't quite know how to introduce this next van because Jackie, when we were thinking about doing it, said, "Oh, you can do it, Rich, because you're really nerdy on stuff like this." How rude. But we're in the Hymer Redwood 600, which is a new van for 2026. And as you'd expect from Hymer, it is a really high-level finish. as Jackie would say, it's fancy dancy in here. So the small touches, like all the cabinetry, it's beautiful wood that they've chosen. All the fixtures and fittings are high end. It's got a pop top roof. It's got a rear fixed bed and obviously quite a large garage, which is the length of the bed. And it's got this nice little seating area at the front. But the thing that strikes home to us is just the quality of the finish. It looks beautiful.
Now this is something I've not seen before. A tiny little spice cabinet.
Does that count as fancy dancy?
I think so. So if money was no object, I think we're probably sitting in what is Richard's dream van. We are in a Westphalia Columbus 600 and it is absolutely beautiful. It has the fixed bed at the back, which is what we were looking for. It is really, really light and airy. Everything's in really nice cream. It's very good high quality furnishings in it, and it should be at the price of £96,000 or just under. There is a show offer on, it's got £3,000 off it, but that still didn't bring it down to our budget. But as a van, it's still a 6-metre van. It's still got the dinette at the front, which is still quite small and cosy, shall I say, which is the same in our Sunlight van. But it is a beautiful van, and for me it's got the bed at the back, which I can go to, and it's still got Richard's workspace at the front. I'm not going to lie, at the end of the day you can definitely see the quality in this and why it does have a higher price tag than the van that we've ordered, but it's still a 6-metre van. It's still based on a Fiat Ducato and you still only get the same amount of space.
Quite an unusual fixed rear bed, or nominally fixed rear bed, because as you can see it rises up. This is the Adria Twin 60th anniversary edition and it is a beautiful van. It would be a little bit too big for us. In fact, it would be a lot too big for us because this is on a 6'40" chassis, so it's a big van. But as you can see above me, the bed drops down to normal fixed bed height if that's what you want. But if you want more space in the garage, so if you're wanting to put bikes and more gear in here, then you just raise the bed up. As with all Adrias, they are beautifully finished, they're very well designed and they're very well thought of. We definitely thought of an Adria as an option in terms of what we were looking to buy last year. Unfortunately, it was just a little bit beyond our price range, but they are beautiful vans, well finished, and as you can see here, not scared of innovation.
Firstly, just a huge apology. We're having to film this back at home because when Richard reviewed the footage that we'd got, I don't think my mic was switched on for some of it.
No, and that's a bit of an issue really. There was no rescuing it at all, so there was far too much background noise. So here we are, we'll film it again. And we are looking at fixed rear beds, and there's lots of pros and cons of those. So let's start about the pros.
Well, a huge pro for me is that you get the fixed bed at the back. We've had 8 years with Nelson where we've had to make the bed up and down every night, and we've done 900 nights in him. Doesn't take a long time. It's probably no more than 2 minutes of a process, but then it's also the converse that Richard makes me get out of my bed and put it away in the morning. So I wanted a fixed bed at the back that's always there.
And one of the big advantages of the fixed bed is that underneath you've got a large garage space, and it's just a space to put all of that stuff. I think I mentioned it earlier in one of the videos that when we travel, we've got so much stuff in the back, and we just want, after 8 years, a clean living space. So all of that stuff can be stuffed away in the garage, and we've got a bit of a more normal living space.
Yeah, and then the next pro of it is that we quite like the fixed bed arrangement because we've got the fixed bed at the back and then the dinette at the front, and it means we can both have totally separate spaces if we wanted to. I know which way round it'll go in our case. I'll have the bed at the back, Richard will have the dinette at the front, but it does mean we've got that total sort of personal space.
Yeah, it's a bit like more normal living because you're not having to convert the living space into a sleeping space, and it just for us felt a little bit more permanent, which is obviously the clues in the title. And then the last big one for us is the fact that fixed rear bed vans often have 4 seat belts. And for us, it's not that we're planning on changing our way of travel. We're not suddenly going to be going away with people, but just having that flexibility of being able to have passengers in the van. We're going to be using the van quite a lot as our daily drive, and we never know when we're going to have to shuttle our mums around or something like that. And we may be keeping our fingers crossed that sometime in the future there might be the pitter-patter of little grandchildren that we might want to take away. So that gives us the flexibility for the future.
So thinking about some of the cons of having a van that's got a permanent fixed bed at the back, and probably the biggest one is that the dinette at the front is tiny. There's no getting away from it, particularly in a 5'40" van, if that's what you choose. The dinette is quite a squeeze. We have thought, because that's what we've ordered, of ways around that. I think just taking the table out that makes it a dinette when you're not eating would make you just feel like you've got a bit more space at the front. And most of the time when you're traveling, you will be using the great outdoors as your dining room. So hopefully it's not that you would have to be in that space all the time.
And there is no getting away from it. It's not a sort of van layout that is particularly sociable. Because the bedroom takes up so much space, you are going to have a tight squeeze at the front, and it doesn't really matter whether you've got a 5'40" van or a 6'40" van. The lounge space tends to stay the same size. So if you're thinking about entertaining people, then you've either got to be really good friends and be squeezed up into that dinette space, or it really is a two-berth type travel arrangement.
If you're a taller traveller, then it can be a little bit snug in the bed. If you're over 6 foot, it's quite hard to sleep going transverse way. There is ways around that. Some of the 6-metre vans and certainly the 6'40" vans, you can choose a fixed bed that goes longitudinal, and it sometimes has twin beds or just converts into a great big king-size bed. But yeah, there are ways around that.
But if you are unsure as to whether you're tall or not, and I'm sort of on the cusp of that, I'm 6 foot, it's just a matter of getting on the beds and trying them out. And I'm quite happy with sleeping sideways across the van, so that layout is absolutely going to work for us. So having had a look at both the merits and the pitfalls of rear lounges and fixed rear beds, you'd think we'd pretty much covered everything at the show, but some things came out of the woodwork and surprised us. So we've just got a few what we would call wildcard selections that didn't really fit into either layout, but we thought it was worth including in this video. So have a look at them now. We always knew when we were coming to the show that there would be some wildcards in, but we didn't think we'd find one quite as soon. This is a van we've not seen a format of before, really. It is the Dreamer family van, and it's got a really interesting configuration. It's got a large lounge at the front, and we presume for a family, so there's plenty of space for people to sit down. It's got hideaway bunks at the back for, I presume, the kids to sleep, and it's got little curtains on it to compartmentalize them off. It's got the switch round bathroom, but then you ask, well, where do mum and dad sleep? Well, that's actually up here. It's a pull down bed that I presume just sits above this lounge area. So really clever configuration and something that we weren't expecting to see.
Okay, so this is my choice of a wildcard. I'm sat in a Mega Mobile 540 lounge. It's a 5'40" van, and it feels really spacious. It's got this really roomy lounge with the dining area. It's got 2 captain seats at the front that do swivel round, and they've got a table that you can pull out so that it's bit of a workspace for Richard if he wanted to get up in the morning, but whoever wants to stay in bed still has space at the back. And it converts really quickly. It's got this drop down roof, it's got an electronic system here. Just turn the key and it will drop down within 20 seconds. And this table here just goes a little bit lower so it sits on it. And it's a perfect solution if you're wanting space for a lounge. You've got your double bed at the back, which you can have fixed, and someone can have space at the front as well.
Now, you know I love my showers, so I just want to interject here. This Slovenian company has absolutely nailed it here. The shower area has got a glass screen. It's there, and then I pull that across and it just seals the toilet area completely, and then you have got the most beautiful shower area. It's a really, really good one, and I think it's the best I've seen. I've got another little wild card for you now, and for me it's the first time I've sat inside a Börsner van. It is the imaginatively called B66-644C. That took some remembering. It's a bit like a telephone number, but the van itself is actually really innovative. It's got a U shape at the back, which feels really snug, but you'll notice that the headroom is quite low because it's got a drop-down bed that sort of extends and pinches a little bit from behind as well. Quite an unusual layout in the fact it's got the kitchen in the middle and the bathroom towards the front, which means that the cab area is almost unusable, but you've got this beautiful lounge area at the back. It feels very light, it feels very airy, and I'm actually really impressed with my first impression of Börsners. Some of those wildcards really surprised us, and I think it's just an illustration of why it's really important to go and see vans in the flesh, and why it's really important to maybe go to a show or go to a big dealership where you can compare vans side by side, because you don't know what you don't know, and some of those wildcards were really, really interesting.
They were, yeah.
But the big question is, what's right for you?
And I don't suppose there is any real perfect answer. There is no perfect van, one van fits all. You do just need to have a sit down and a think, what is it that you want from a van? So in our process of thought, we went to the first show, we had no idea what we wanted, and we just came away completely bamboozled by the whole lot. But once we'd sat down, because we'd seen all sorts of different vans, we did kind of get an idea of things that we didn't want and things that we definitely did want. So for us, and we've talked about it a lot, the fixed bed at the back was a definite for us. So that then got rid of 50% of the vans that were at the show for us to have a think about.
And we know there are loads of merits with rear loungers, and it's not that we are particularly slagging them off or anything like that. It's just that it's not right for us, and we know that they will be right for lots of other people. And we don't have preferred manufacturers either, but once you've got that layout, and as Jackie says, you've narrowed your choice down, it then comes down to the length of van that you want to use.
Yeah, because the fixed bed vans in a 540 all come with a traverse bed, and that's going to cut out it as an option for lots of people, particularly if you are taller. So yeah, then you've got to think, do you want a longer van? Do you want to be driving around in a 6 metre 40 van? But that's a completely different discussion anyway.
But it's in the next stage of discussion, and we've actually got a video planned that we're going to be releasing in the next couple of weeks that will look at one type of van on 3 different lengths and see what you actually get for each of those 3 different lengths.
Something we would definitely advocate is that you go to one of the shows. There's lots that happen all through the summer, and obviously the 2 NEC shows, and then also go to some of the showrooms and just have a really good look around, have a try and a jump on the different beds, have a sit in the rear lounges, and see if you can picture what you can picture yourself enjoying as part of your van life travels.
So I guess if we were going to wrap everything up from this video, we would say try and make a decision on the sort of layout that you want, then think about the length that you want, and then the really important thing, and it's absolutely essential, think about your budget and don't be forced up in your budget. We decided what our budget was. We had no option over that. It was fixed. So it also ruled out lots of other vans, and it also ruled out lots of manufacturers, because you soon get a feel for which manufacturers are out of your price range and which manufacturers you should be targeting.
Yeah, Dad, by the time we went to the 3rd show, we definitely made a conscious decision that we didn't even step in a van until we'd looked at the price on the outside of the van. And, you know, it's hard because that you can be tempted. The Westphalias, wow, if money was no object, I would have gone for one of the Westphalia vans. But £30,000 more, we decided just don't step in the vans because you don't want to be tempted and be caught up in that rush.
So we hope you've enjoyed this video. We certainly had a blast at the NEC over the 2 and a bit days that we were there, and we learned an awful lot. We have got so much footage that we are going to put out another almost fly on the wall documentary, we think, if I can get all of the footage together in the next few days.
Yeah, we thought you'd like to see just a little bit of what it's like just wandering around the show and the kinds of things you can see, and just to get an idea of how vast it is and how much of choice you get when you're there. And yeah, just some of the things that are there for you to have a look at.
But we thoroughly recommend it as a visit. It is a pretty full-on experience, but it is really fun. But that's it from us, so we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.